Hello, YouTube. Another video about iGenius's top leader, Anthony Napolitano. I apologize about that, but I had an insight about the man himself, which explained why he's working so hard. And this guy, you got to give him credit. He's a hard worker, a really hard worker, and I admire his hustle. But I want to underline why his hustle is really critical to the survival of iGenius itself. He is constantly recruiting. And I want to explain to you why constant recruiting at the top of a pyramid structure is a red flag and not a reason to flex. What are we actually looking at with this incredibly hard work on the part of Anthony Napolitano? Let me break it down for you. iGenius promises residual, passive, income, time freedom. But what's really happening? This gentleman is hosting weekly opportunity calls. When he is not hosting these calls, he's traveling to small events almost every weekend and has been doing so for almost every weekend for the last 10 years, not flying twice a week for 10 straight years as he claimed, but some very large number of, he's logged a lot of miles. And he's doing this, again, right now, despite the fact that his first child is just about 1 month old. The question is, what does this behavior say about the model? So if the income were truly residual, not residual like these coffee residua, his income really would be decoupled from constant recruiting. He could hang out with his kid for 6 months and watch those absolutely miraculous times in a child's development, rather than having to jet around the country and leave the country. In fact, he would be able to dispense with the calls or just do them when he feels like it. He could focus on his strategy and leadership rather than doing really what his downlines should be doing. If this were genuinely on autopilot, he wouldn't have to be in Zooms all the time, right? But iGenius is an MLM that is shrinking. And in a shrinking MLM, the math is different. Churn is greater than recruitment. C is greater than R. And as I alluded to, but did not actually demonstrate, show graphically or mathematically, for the last 7 quarters, and we are in the 4th quarter of 2025, for the last 7 quarters, the iGenius has been shrinking. The subscription base has been shrinking substantially year over year. The markets are saturated, and every generation of distributors is smaller than the previous one. The structure is such that really churn has to be compensated by constant recruitment. It has to be at least equal, not less than churn, which is what is happening now. And when C is greater than R, when churn is greater than recruitment, a company is in slow collapse mode. It is not in explosive growth. This is not the exciting place to be that Anthony Napolitano advertises. Why does he have to sprint like he does? In a real and dollars and cents sense, Anthony's check is tied to current and future volume, not his rank. And as the network is shrinking, his override income is eroding, shrinking. To keep his income flat, that is, to tread water, he has to recruit harder, push his teams harder, and keep the illusion of his momentum alive. That's why the weekly opportunity calls, why the small in-person events every weekend, and the fact that he's doing this despite that he has an absolutely gorgeous kid in the house, it demonstrates that he can't ease off. Not that he doesn't want to, he can't. And this passive income of which he speaks is not as secure as he advertises. Now, I want to stress, I actually admire this guy. I admire his hustle. I admire his guts. I admire his articulateness. But this isn't about Anthony's character. It's about the health of the business model. Let me explain the difference between hustle theater and business health. Hustle theater is what's actually happening here. for his field, for his downline, his activity is perceived as proof that the opportunity is exploding. He's leading by example. But structurally, what does this really mean? It means that there is a high churn rate that's got to be covered. There is, under the surface, fragile growth or negative growth. In fact, it is negative growth, and this has been proven by their SEC reports. There is heavy hustle at the top, and that's a symptom of collapse, not of success. Again, this is not about Ant as a father. He does work extremely hard. He's providing for Lauren and his child. We're critiquing the system he's in. If the business were as passive and as explosive as he marketed, Anthony wouldn't need to grind as hard at this stage in his life. He's only 30, but he wouldn't need to grind as hard. The problem is structural. So for anybody out there who's considering this so-called opportunity, look, the top leader is recruiting nonstop. What does that say about your own chances of making a passive income? How many people are churning out beneath him each month? The most optimistic estimate is that it's 34%. It could be as high as 50%, and the annual churn could be as high as 98%. That is, that virtually the entire company may turn over every year. That number will emerge with time. You have to ask yourself, are you joining an opportunity that's growing or one that's doing the dwindles? You should care about that, folks. You really should. Who benefits most from your doing this? You or Anthony Napolitano? How should you read the signs correctly? Listen, this constant high-intensity recruiting at the very top is not proof of unlimited growth. Quite the opposite. It's a red flag that the structure underneath is under strain. A healthy residual income model doesn't need the top leader to go full out all the time. Now, you don't have to judge him as a person to question the business model, okay? If Anthony Napolitano at the top of the pyramid can't stop recruiting, what does that say about the possibility for anybody else? Because your skills, knowledge, and experience are way too valuable to waste in an MLM. That's all I got. I'll see you in the next one.